Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation on Android with RPCS3 Android. Now, we talked about this one yesterday on April 1st, April Fool's Day, and there was some news there that I couldn't decipher whether or not it was true or an April Fool. And it turns out it was true. So the very last release of RPCS3 Android is going to be Alpha 7. After this, there's going to be no more versions of RPCS3 Android. So heading on over to the Discord for RPCS3 Android, and every single channel has been locked down. You can no longer post on them. And this is what DH says, who is the main person behind RPCS3 Android. This project is discontinued. Alpha 7 is the last release. However, there is something worth considering, and this is very important. Fork of RPCS3 will be merged with RPCSX. RPCS3 Android will be re-uploaded as RPCSX Android UI. All further work will be in scope of RPCSX. Now, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the new home for RPCS3 Android. It'll now be called RPCSX UI Android, and it is up on GitHub. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. At the time of filming, there is no official release for RPCSX UI Android just yet. RPCS3 Android Alpha 7 is the latest and greatest version. And some people are wondering, why did this actually happen? And I can see two big reasons. So the first reason here, and I'm just speculating, it may be easier just to keep everything all in one place, especially if they plan on having PS4 and PS5 emulation on Android at some point in the future. And I wouldn't hold my breath on any of that. But we'll have to wait and see there. Maybe they just wanted to have everything all as one big project, PS3, PS4, and PS5 emulation. And the second thing here, and I think this is the biggest one, and again, I'm just speculating, I'm assuming this will prevent confusion between RPCS3 Android and RPCS3, the main PS3 emulator out there. I mean, yes, RPCS3 Android was based on RPCS3, and the main person behind RPCS3 Android was one of the initial people behind RPCS3. And I can see the confusion there, and RPCS3 Android was an unofficial RPCS3 kind of fork. It wasn't officially supported by the RPCS3 team, and renaming it to RPCSX UI Android, I think will help prevent a lot of that confusion. I could be wrong, but I don't think so here. So if you didn't listen to anything I just said, to recap here, PS3 emulation on Android is seemingly going to continue, just not under the RPCS3 Android name. Just think about it as the project itself being renamed entirely and will continue. Next up here, we're talking about Infinity Blade 2 on PC, and there's a brand new video here on YouTube called Infinity Blade 2 PC. Download now. And it's by Infinity Blade Studios. Now, for those who may be unaware, Infinity Blade 2 was a mobile exclusive that a lot of people seem to be very fond of. And taking a look here at the video, I think it's very interesting to see this game running on PC. And if you're interested in watching it run on PC, I do recommend checking it out. It's only 8 minutes long. And taking a look here at the description, they say, I am neither affiliated with Epic Games nor the creation of this port, which exists solely for the purpose of media preservation. I would say, yeah, that's a pretty big win for preservation. Next up, we're talking about GBE Plus, where the E stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or Enhanced, GB Enhanced Plus. And this one is a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and Pokemon Mini emulator, an experimental Nintendo DS emulator, and it just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, GBE Plus 1.9 is the latest update. And I would say this one is a pretty big update. They've reworked all infrared netplay when using HardSync. They've added full support for the Camfo Advance. They've added full support for Nintendo MP3 player. And there's even more in here. I would say they've added support for a bunch of stuff here and really improved things overall. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation 4 emulation with PS Off, or Piss Off. And it just got a brand new update to 2025 March 31st. And this update has a few changes and some improvements here. So they say here over on Discord, early release, the previous version had serious regressions in save data, so I decided to release a new one ASAP after fixing them all. Additionally, this release fixes other small nasty bugs and implements gamepad controls in the user interface. And that part I would say is pretty big. PSoft is making improvements in leaps and bounds. They release a new version almost every single week, and I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. And speaking about frequent releases, next up we're talking about custom Adreno drivers. This one is pretty quick and more of just a heads up here. If you've got a Snapdragon CPU and you use some pretty heavy emulators, there's a chance you use custom drivers, and there's some brand new Mesa Turnip drivers that have just dropped. So at the time of filming, 04/01/2025 is the latest update. It's Mesa Turnip driver version 25.1.0 revision 5. And this one is up on GitHub. And again, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below at the bottom if you wanted to learn more about it. Next up, we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation with AzaharPlus. This one is super interesting to me given the fact that Azahar is still pretty darn new. And the fact we've already got a fork here, I guess is unsurprising. They say here it restores some features. And I would say if you are looking at Azahar and AzaharPlus, Azahar is probably the one to pay attention to, but again, I could be wrong about this one. So taking a look over on GitHub, and I would say this one is highly questionable, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the matter. So AzaharPlus, for what it does that Azahar doesn't. Support of 3DS files. If a file works with either Citra forks, it works with AzaharPlus. And the ability to download system files from official servers. No need for an actual 3DS. So I could be wrong here, but at a very high level, it seems that AzaharPlus is trying to actively undo stuff that Azahar did to separate itself from piracy. But moving on from that can of worms, and next up here, we're talking about Simple Launcher, an open source emulator front end, and Simple Launcher just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, release 3.12 is the latest update. There's a bunch of updates and a whole bunch of additions. They've updated MAME database to the latest version, which is 0.276. They've added batch convert to compressed file tool. They've added batch verify CHD files. They've added batch verify compressed files. And they've also added an option to turn off emulator error notifications from Simple Launcher. So overall, I would say this is a pretty big quality of life update for Simple Launcher. I mean, even just the fact that they've updated the batch convert to CHD application to accept new input formats, including zip files, itself is pretty big. And speaking about huge updates, next up we're talking about emulation on iOS with multi-system emulator Delta. And this is a big update. Delta 1.7 is now available for everyone on AltStore PAL and soon on the App Store, so keep your eyes open for this one. This is a huge update with lots of exciting new features, including online multiplayer for Nintendo DS games. Additionally, check this out from Retro Achievements. We are happy to announce that Delta Emulator for iOS devices is now officially supported. Start earning hardcore achievements with the following systems: NES, SNES, and N64. With Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and Nintendo DS coming soon. Next up here, we're talking about the mod retro Chromatic, and this one might be a PSA, it might not be, but based on what I'm seeing here, there may be an issue with monochromatic and wiping saves. So this post comes from the unofficial subreddit of mod retro Chromatic, and they say, okay, now I believe on Chromatic wiping saves from carts. I was just playing Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. All of a sudden, just the first save was randomly erased. Now, additionally, they say it also happened with a recently battery-changed Pokemon Silver I was playing on my original GBC. Twice I put the Pokemon Silver cart in the Chromatic, and twice it wiped my save. Now, it seems as if not just one person is having this issue. This person here says also had this issue, contacted Mod Retro, and they seem to not know anything about this issue. All my games have replaced batteries. This person here says, I have seen enough posts about this that I believe it is an issue. This person says, I haven't seen this happen yet. Thankfully, I haven't encountered this issue. I have the GameStop version. I've had no issues. I think it did the same thing to my Kirby's Dream Land 2. Scrolling down the comments, and it does seem a mix of people have had issues and haven't. This person says, yes, this is absolutely unacceptable. My childhood Mario 6 golden coins lost all 3 saves. It's time a bigger outlet like Mr. Sujano reports about this. Well, here I am. I would say that more than one person reporting the exact same issue is pause for concern. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. And if you've had a Chromatic with save issues, let me know in the comments below. I think getting to the bottom of what exactly is causing these save issues is the first step, diagnosing the problem in order for Mod Retro to issue a fix, if they do. I'm hoping here that it's a software issue and not a hardware issue, and I'm hoping that it's only under very certain conditions. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I am alarmed. Next up here, we're talking about Billy Mitchell, and this is a big win for Billy Mitchell. So it's being reported over on PC Gamer, and it was reported on April 1st, so I wasn't necessarily sure if it was true or not. But they say YouTuber Karl Jobst to pay more than $230,000 to Donkey Kong record holder Billy Mitchell in defamation ruling. Now, based on this article, and I'm not Team Billy Mitchell and I'm not Team Karl Jobst, I'm based on reading the information and making my own decisions here. Based on the article, I can kind of see why Billy Mitchell won this suit. I do recommend reading the article. It seems that things could have been avoided entirely, but continued to escalate, and then Billy stepped in and brought it to court and, well, won. And here's Karl's response over on Twitter. I lost. The judge found Billy to be a credible witness and believed his entire testimony. From that point on, unfortunately, there was really nothing that could have saved me. I will now obviously consider my options. I know many of you will be upset with this, and I'm sorry for that. Thank you again for all of the support I've received, and I will endeavor to work as hard as I can to repay all that you are owed. Now, unsurprisingly here, there's a whole bunch of responses and reactions to this Twitter post, and based on what I'm reading here, it seems that the court case may not have been specifically around Billy Mitchell cheating. It may have also centered around Apollo Legend, which, well, that's a completely different can of worms altogether than just accusing Billy Mitchell of cheating. And last up here, we're talking about Nintendo, and there's two things here. That's an interesting pun given the fact that it's talking about the Switch 2. Anyways, today there is going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. You've probably already seen it by the time you're watching this video, or maybe you haven't, or maybe you didn't realize it. But if you wanted to learn more about the Nintendo Switch 2, you may want to check out this Nintendo Direct. And again, like everything we talk about, link is in the description below at the bottom. On top of that, it's being rumored that the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller will have a headphone jack. That headphone jack was spotted in an FCC filing, and I'm assuming if it is in the FCC filing, there's probably a pretty good chance it's going to be in the actual controller. But I'm curious to see about this Nintendo Direct and what the Switch 2 is going to offer and what Nintendo is going to say about it. And there's reportedly also going to be a treehouse afterwards to show the Nintendo Switch 2 in action. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this one. I think there's going to be a whole lot of videos on YouTube talking about this. And I'm certain we're going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. Now, some of you have asked why I say I don't hide my sources. For example, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. And there's two main reasons for this. Number one, I try to keep my news as open source per se as possible. I try to encourage everyone to do investigation on their own and learn more about stuff if they're interested in it. And number two, and this is a big one, there's a number of news sites out there, I'm not going to put any on blast, that don't cite where they get information from. They'll talk about it a little bit. They might show an obscure screenshot. And in the article, they'll have links that link to their own website and not to the thing they're talking about. And that part drives me nuts, because sometimes when you get to the bottom of some groundbreaking rumor that has a huge flowery story, that rumor is nothing. It's a big nothing burger. And I try to avoid that as much as possible. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state, and I'll see you tomorrow.